Hello everybody, my name is Kara and today I'm here to do a book unhaul. I don't do a lot of these even though I unhaul books a lot because I usually unhaul books pretty continuously and very frequently, so I don't usually end up with like a big bunch all at once. But this year I have not actually been to my local bookstore like in person since self-isolation started. I have ordered books from them for like delivery and everything, but I have not physically been there, so I have not dropped off books. I'm not going to show all of the books that I'm going to be getting rid of because that would be a lot and I just honestly don't feel like unpacking them from the boxes. But I have some recent books that I have decided I'm going to unhaul. Part of the reason is because I was actually planning to do a try a chapter book tag unhaul edition where I read a chapter and decide if I want to keep the book and give it a try, or if it doesn't feel like it's for me and I can go ahead and get rid of it. Because there are several books that I've had on my shelves for a while where I thought that might be useful, because I'm not like, I don't know, I'm not super confident I'll like them, but I'm like, maybe. And I thought maybe doing that try a chapter would, you know, help cut down on that number or encourage me to pick those up sooner. Because I mentioned before that I don't DNF often, but when I do, it's almost always at the very beginning of a book. So this would actually be like a perfect way to do that and to decide what books I want to keep. But then I had them all in that stack together and I was just looking at them and I'm like, I don't want to read any of these, which arguably is kind of the point of the try a chapter tag, is to decide if you want to read them or not. But yeah, anyway, so all of that long introduction to say that I'm just going to share some of the books that I am getting rid of. Again, I've had many books that I'm unhauling throughout this year and I just haven't brought them into the bookstore yet. So some of these books I am definitely unhauling. Some of them I will mention are part of that try a chapter thing that I was going to do and then just decided I don't want to read these. So there's a few that like maybe you could convince me to try, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so let's get started with the first little stack here. So this first book is actually one of the ones I'm a little more on the fence about, and I've actually read this one, and that is Unmarriageable by Sonia Kamal, Pride and Prejudice in Pakistan. So I actually really enjoyed this at the time that I read it, but it wasn't my favorite. There were like some things about it that I didn't love, and I recently saw my friend Hannah from Lynn Hermione. I think she talked about this in a wrap-up. I'll link that down below, and she just made some really good points about why this book is not great. And I don't know, like I think I really enjoyed it at the time, partly because I was under a lot of stress at that time and I needed something kind of light like this, but there were a lot of things that were not done very well. So I'm not sure. It's in the unhaul pile for now, but I haven't really decided if I want to keep it or not, because again, I really liked it, but I don't know if I would reread it. I also have Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. I read All the Rage by her. I might have that behind me somewhere. Yeah, it's right here, if you can see that. I thought that book was absolutely brilliant, and I do plan to read more from Courtney Summers eventually. But Alana from The Awkward Book Nerd, she talked about this book in a wrap-up like a few months ago, and she actually mentioned, she gave a spoiler warning and then she talked about the actual reasons that she didn't like it and kind of like the main reveal of what happens, and that just completely turned me off this book. I don't want to read it. Yeah, so I will try something else from Courtney Summers, but not that one. And then this book I actually really enjoyed, but I just ended up with a duplicate copy, and that is The Thieves of Ostia by Caroline Lawrence, although I do like this texture of the paper. So I don't know, maybe I'll swap this one out in my box set. I'm not sure yet. Oh, and then also I wanted to mention a few of these are books that I have actually like had packed up for a while, and just in the intervening period I either heard things about them or I just like thought about it more and realized I didn't want to try them. So some of these books are like I had mentally unhauled them a while ago, but I'm finally getting around to actually getting them out of those boxes and like officially putting them in the unhaul pile. And one of those is The Falconer's Knot by Mary Hoffman, the story of friars, flirtation, and foul play. So Mary Hoffman wrote the Stravaganza series, which I really love. That's one of my favorite series, and that's why I had picked this up. But the more I think about the premise and like read about it, I just don't think I would enjoy this. Like this boy named Silvano meets a beautiful novice named Chiara. Yeah, not really my thing, so will not be reading that one, even though I really enjoy the author's other series. Next, I have a sequel for a book that I hated that I read at the end of last year, and this is one of the ones that was just like in a box for a while, which is why I haven't gotten rid of it earlier, and that is Song of the Nile by Stephanie Dre. This is the sequel to Lily of the Nile, which I'll link the wrap before I talk about that book, but I hated it. Next, I have The Dead Queens Club by Hannah Capin. So this is a contemporary retelling of The Wives of Henry VIII, and Foul is Fair by this author is one of my least favorite books I've read this year. So I'm already kind of not feeling it. But also my friend Julia from Shakespeare and Such, she read this book, I think earlier. She also didn't like Fatherless Fair, and she really didn't like this one also. And I tried to start reading it at some point, and I only got through a couple pages. It just wasn't grabbing me. I just think Hannah Keepin's ideas sound so cool, and then the execution is just not great, or it's not great for me at least. Yeah, so like I know it seems silly to get rid of this book when I've only read a couple pages, but like I mean, from everything Julia said about it, I just don't think I would like it. Also, it's really long, and I've already had a bad experience with one of her books, so I don't know, maybe I think that was one of the ones that I was maybe going to do a try chapter with, so if you convince me, maybe I will keep that one to give it a chance, but I just don't anticipate enjoying that. Maybe if Hannah Keepin comes out with something in the future, maybe I would try that. I'd give her maybe a second chance, but probably not with that book. So next I have The Bone People by Carrie Holm. I actually have at least one or two friends who really enjoyed this. I know Jocelyn really liked this, and I do think this is such a cool cover, but I read through the first few pages and I really didn't like the writing style. And just the premise of this one over time has kind of been something I think I would be less drawn to, or at least if I do read this, it will not be anytime soon. And again, like I just really didn't like the writing, and I've realized recently that if a writing style just really rubs me the wrong way, that's generally a sign I'm not going to get on with the book, which I think makes sense because that's one of the things that like probably won't change throughout the book. You know, like characters can develop and a plot can change, but generally the writing style is pretty consistent. So yeah, I don't think I'll be into that one. This one is one of the more controversial books on this list. That is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This was another one I was going to keep for the try chapter. And I feel like I have complained about V.E. Schwab a lot lately, so I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I enjoyed two of her books at the time. I have DNF'd a couple of others, but over time I have just like been really turned off by what she does in her stories, specifically the way she writes women. I find it very offensive. And I also don't love that V.E. Schwab as a person herself is kind of built her entire brand on being not like other girls. Like she literally said that in an interview, and I don't really want to support an author who does that. I did keep Vicious for a while because I know a lot of people this was their favorite V.E. Schwab book, and I was like, maybe I'll like it. And I also know that it's mainly a cast of men, so I'm like, well, if there's no women in it, she can't write women badly. But I think there are a few female characters in it, and I like looked at the beginning of this and I just don't think I'd like it. I'm very picky about anti-heroes, and I know that like the whole point of this book is that the main characters are anti-heroes, and again, I just don't feel like giving V.E. Schwab any more promotion considering I don't really like what she's about. Next I have Along the Infinite Sea by Beatrice Williams. This is a really beautiful cover, so it's a little sad that I'm getting rid of it, but I don't even remember the other book I read from her. What was it called? The Secret Life of Violet Grant. I read that at the beginning of last year, I think, and it remained one of my most disappointing books of the year because of some storytelling decisions the author made that I think just were not great. I think she missed a real opportunity there to do something different. And so I didn't enjoy the first one, and I am actually keeping the second kind of book in this sort of companion series. I don't know what it is exactly. It's called Tiny Little Thing. I'm tentatively going to try that one and give her another chance, but the premise of this one just doesn't interest me, and I don't think, like, given my experience with her first book, I don't think I enjoy her enough as an author to keep books that I'm not drawn to the premise of, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think she's one of those authors where I can take a chance on things that don't sound up my alley and enjoy them, I think. Next I have a whole series. This is one of the ones where if you tell me this is good and like you would recommend it, I would probably keep this one just because like it's a whole series and it would be exciting if I enjoyed it because it's a time period I find very interesting. And that is what is the name of the series? I don't know. But the first book is Mistress of Rome, and it's by Kate Quinn. So we have Mistress of Rome, Daughters of Rome, Empress of the Seven Hills, and Lady of the Eternal City. And this one, like, I just have lost interest in them. Like, I don't know enough about what separates this from other historical fiction to, like, get me excited about it. I think Kate Quinn is, like, a reasonably popular historical fiction author, and, like, obviously I love historical fiction. But yeah, I just don't know enough about these to really be excited about picking them up. I've owned them for a while without really being drawn to picking them up. And again, I read so much historical fiction and there's so many great ones out there that I don't really want to keep one that I'm like lukewarm about trying. But yeah, let me know if you really have enjoyed these, because then I would be willing to give them a chance. And then finally, the last book that I am talking about today is another very controversial one, I think. And that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. So this is a very popular book, and I have always kind of thought that this maybe wouldn't be for me, but I was willing to give it a try because a lot of people I know really love it, and it also involves Shakespeare, which I obviously love. So I was kind of hopeful, but recently my friend Hannah, who I mentioned earlier, she like read this book and hated it. And I feel like we have very similar reading taste in a lot of ways, and this is also dark academia, which I don't care about at all. And I read a little bit of the beginning, and I just feel like the writing is very pretentious, and I don't know, like I'm already annoyed by the way that this book is like using the theater aspect and the Shakespeare quotes and everything. Like some of my friends, this is one of their favorite books, so it makes me sad to get rid of it, but I also just like I don't care about dark academia. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't really care about anti-heroes, or I'm very picky about them, and I just don't know if the Shakespeare aspect is enough to save this for me. Okay everybody, so that was a very, very small sampling of the many books that I am unhauling at some point in the future. So even if I don't physically unhaul those books for a while, those books are going to be unhauled at some point. Except like I said, there were a few in that stack that you could maybe save. So please comment down below and let me know what you thought of any of those books I talked about. Let me know about the ones that I mentioned being unsure about, if you have really enjoyed them, because that'd be really good to know. Like I said, so there's a couple in that stack where I'm like, I could be convinced. So if you do really love those, let me know what you liked about them and if you think I would enjoy them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!